Welcome to the My Amazon Guy podcast. My name is Steve Pope. Today, we're going to be talking about product insurance. I have a special guest, Amit Batzir, who's with the Spott company, and they have some great things to share today. So just to get things started, can you just tell us a little bit about your company and what you guys do? I know you have a new company, a new product offering. People are going to want to hear about this because product insurance is complicated with all the Amazon changes.
Definitely. And thank you, Stephen, for having me on. Pleasure to be here. So Spot actually set out about a year ago with a mission to help e-commerce sellers or e-commerce entrepreneurs, as we call them. We know that there are many challenges for sellers, and we are trying to find very creative, very technological ways to help them in doing what they do best, which is building a business and building a life for themselves. So that's what we set to do. And we believe that insurance is a big part of that. And it's an important part in each business. So.
It's also really boring. So I expect some insurance quotes. All right. I mean, jokes, jokes on me. Some people say funny things and some people like me say things funny. So, all right, we're on a roll already today. So what made you want to start a service to specifically help Amazon sellers with e-commerce product insurance?
So when we look at businesses, we understand that they have basically all kinds of needs. They have the daily hustle, right? Things that are happening and they have to react to. They have their opportunity growth, and they need to be prepared for the moment that they can actually grow and they can actually be very successful. But most importantly, there is a sustainability part, which I believe personally is one of the most important things for a business, to make sure that it is sustainable, that nothing can go wrong. And within the world of insurance, there are so many things that you need to know, that there are so many things that you need to be covered for, just to make sure that your business doesn't go underwater. And for us, this is one of the biggest missions, to make sure that no business goes underwater if there is no real reason for that. So
we, back in the fall, Dustin on my staff put together a video on how we used Hiscox. And it was a relatively straightforward process, but also, kind of scary and new and expensive. So, all right, so let's jump in here. We are going to be taking questions from the audience. Abdallah says, "Hi, Stephen and Amit from LinkedIn. Thanks for that." We have, looks like Spott supporting us here. From Spott proper. So we'll get some assists from them today. And Abdallah has already started asking some questions. So we do have some prepared questions today, but we're going to take the audience questions first. And then so if you guys have any questions about how insurance works, this is a very complicated topic. You probably are going to have some very specific scenarios. Don't hesitate to ask the question. That's why we are doing this. And then once we wrap those up, we've got a bunch of things to talk through that we thought people would ask about. All right, so let's go to Abdallah here first. So Abdallah says, "My business is registered in Turkey. All insurance companies are refusing to give me service unless I have a USA company. Can you help him? And if not, what should he do?"
So first, we can definitely try and help him. Amazon made basically a program where they can accept all, or they work with many American carriers, all the carriers in the AM Best list. But outside of the US, it's a bit more complicated. If you're an individual, you can get an insurance in the United States. If you have an LLC in the United States, you can get insurance in the United States. If you have an LTD or you're registered in another country, you need to work with a local insurer to get insurance for you. We already worked with customers from all around the world, Europe, Canada, and other countries. And Abdallah will be more than happy to assist you in finding the right insurance carrier that can take care of that for you. So
perfect.
We'll be more than happy to assist you.
How many days after reaching 10K a month, I have to show Amazon my insurance details? I don't know the answer to this, but I want to say it's probably like 90 days. Do you know the answer?
It's actually 30.
30. Okay.
So 30 days within the first time that you cross $10,000 per month, you have to upload your certificate of insurance.
All right, so not a lot of time there.
No.
if I make insurance for 1 year and my sales were 10K per month, in 3 months my sales reached 70K, should I change my insurance or is it still valid? So he's changed the amount of revenue coming in.
Yeah, that's actually a great question. Whenever you onboard or you get an insurance policy, you're getting coverage for something. And if this something is changing materially, then you need to update your policy. For example, if you thought that you were going to sell for 100K per year, and all of a sudden you sell for 500K per year, then you need to make sure that your insurance still covers it. By the way, in Spott, that's what we do for the customers. We make sure that if something changes, then we update them and help them with the process of updating their policy. I think that another use case, by the way, is what happens if you start selling something new. So let's say that you sell toys and all of a sudden you start selling KitchenAids. Again, in this case, you need to update the insurance carrier to make sure that your policy also covers the new type of products that you're selling.
Right on. All right. So let's go to these are some prepared questions that we put together because we knew a lot of people were going to ask and talk about these things. So you work with many sellers. What challenges do you see e-commerce business owners facing today?
So I usually divide it to 3 types of challenges. First, like I said, is the daily hustle, right? So sellers need to be updated on so many things on a day-to-day basis. What their competition is doing, what is happening in the ecosystem, work with the manufacturer, etc. And that's like just the day-to-day. 2 other main challenges is to be ready for a scenario where something goes right or go wrong, meaning all of a sudden one of your product is successful and you need money to invest in inventory and to basically boost your business and catch this opportunity. So this is a big pain point for all of our sellers, that sometimes success is surprising to them. But this is the good kind of trouble. The bad kind of troubles is that things tend to go wrong on Amazon. It can be insurance related, or it can be something else negative that's happening. For example, Amazon suspending your store, okay, or one of your listings, which happens a lot.
It's a lot of work to try and get listings back up. That's definitely something we deal with every day at My Amazon Guy. All right. Insurance for e-commerce sellers came up a lot in the news lately.
Yeah.
Can you explain what changed? Do e-commerce sellers need insurance? And if so, why?
Yeah. So basically last year, people started suing Amazon for things that were sold on Amazon platform. No matter if Amazon manufactured it or sold it, the fact that they hosted the product on their platform actually made it possible for people to sue them. And Amazon, being Amazon, decided to take this opportunity and create value for their customers, the buying customers. And they created a change in the A to Z guarantee, okay, saying that everything under $1,000 will be covered by Amazon, as long as you have, as a seller, insurance policy in place. If you have insurance policy in place, they will take care of everything under $1,000. But if the claim is above that, they can use your insurance to basically cover for any claim. They made it mandatory on September 1st, basically saying that all sellers with revenue of at least, or they passed $10,000 in a single month, must have this in place. And in this case, they will cover, like I said, everything on the A to Z guarantee. And if something goes wrong and you get a claim for over $10,000, then they defer it to your insurance carrier.
I think it's actually a pretty good compromise. So when you talk about adding value, but Amazon's forcing you to pay for something, right?
Yeah.
People are like at home, they're like, I don't know about that. But no, I sincerely agree, because really what Amazon's doing is sharing liability with you, but doing it in a compromised way, so that, you know, if something's under $1,000, you don't have to deal with it as a business owner. So that's a lot of hassle for small time liability claims. But then in return, Amazon wants that big insurance policy to protect them from when something really hits the fan, right? So it kind of makes sense. So
it does.
So, you know, both Amazon and e-commerce sellers, though, everybody needs insurance.
Yes. Everyone needs insurance. Let's put Amazon requirements aside for a second. You really need insurance just in case something goes wrong. and things tend to go wrong. You can run your own business and all of a sudden face a lawsuit that you cannot recover from. And sometimes, it can be just from a failure on the manufacturer side. But if this manufacturer is in China, you will probably not be able to defer the lawsuit to them, and you will have to take responsibility. So just to make sure that your business is sustainable, that nothing goes wrong, nothing can take you out of business, you definitely should have insurance in place, liability insurance in place.
And the insurance and the liability that we're talking about, where does the scope start and end? For example, can I use you to insure my goods before they even hit port, like back in China?
There are insurances for that. The liability insurance that Amazon requires actually covers physical and property damages caused to the customer after he bought your product. Okay.
So, for example, I have this zit that showed up on my face in the last 24 hours. I buy a product to burn the zit off, and then I had a giant facial reaction, and I wanted to sue the product. That's the sort of scenario it would cover me for.
Exactly. Let's say that you sell glasses, wine glasses. You put it in the dishwasher. It broke for some reason, and when exactly.
This is the way.
Yeah.
Man, by the way, I thought I know I throw you off here, but I thought the Book of Boba Fett was basically part way through Mandalorian season 3. And it was fantastic. So for those that haven't seen that, I do have some This Is the Way beer glasses. I'm a big Star Wars geek. Loved it. Good show. All right. So you were saying about selling wine glasses, and the shard gets, shards are going everywhere.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, a customer cuts his hand for some reason. Again, this insurance covers you for that, for any physical or property damage that are caused by your product.
Mohammed says, is there any insurance? And by the way, I actually don't know how this is pronounced. I used to say Rakuten, but I think other people say Rakuten. I'm not really sure. Ichiba sellers. I don't know if you know anything about that.
My Israeli accent will not help here for pronouncing it correctly.
Let's hear it.
No, it's a Rakuten Ichiba.
It sounds good. It sounds better than mine.
Yeah. Basically, product liability insurance covers you wherever you sell. Okay. So let's say that you have insurance for wine glasses, and you basically when you get a policy, you state the number of units that you're selling. Some of that can be on Amazon, some of that can be Rakuten. If an actual customer sues you, you're still covered by your insurance company. Again, Rakuten might require some different things on the policy. Amazon, for example, requires that Amazon will be insured on the policy. So Rakuten might also require that. We can definitely help with checking that for you, Mohammed. So,
and one thought that just kind of came across for me was, certain platforms, whether it's Rakuten or Wayfair or even House, have been requiring product insurance for many years.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, with my wine glass brand Momster, I tried to launch on Wayfair a couple years ago, and they hit me with the product insurance request, and I was just like, oh, this is too much. I don't want to deal with this. Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't launch on Wayfair. So it's interesting to see that Amazon is finally doing what many other platforms have already done. Do you think, and you kind of mentioned why it was they started getting sued, right? But why did all of the other platforms like Wayfair request this years ago? Why is Amazon just catching up now?
So I think Amazon, I'll start with the other platforms. Again, for them, as they host you on their platform, it makes perfect sense both to be covered and to make sure that your business is up and running, right? It's in their interest to make sure that you're still in business. So this is a basic requirement to have, and you can see it across many businesses. If they work with you, they require you to have insurance. Amazon in many times, it tend to move really quickly, offer a lot of things, and then correct along the way. And I think this is just a correction. This is something that was due to happen. Walmart, by the way, they require insurance from day one. and not you don't need to pass the $10,000 or anything like that. And
I don't
think
think
that
Walmart's ever asked for my insurance, so I might be in violation.
we can help you with that as well. But yeah, I think that Amazon tend to move fast. I think that third-party sellers on Amazon became a huge thing for them, right? Just this year, the revenues from third-party sellers on Amazon platform was more than Amazon's revenue on its platform. So it became a huge thing, and they're finding more and more solutions, catching up and making everything more organized, I would say.
So what should the policy include? What happens if Amazon declines the policy I purchase? This happened to me, by the way, when I first tried to, I tried to cut some corners. I had another insurance policy that covered me in something else, and I just tried to just submit it. Rejected in under 4 hours. Came back really fast. Yeah. So I went out and we did Hiscox, and when we submitted Hiscox, it went through within 1 day, and they approved it once I followed the policy. But all right, so what should happen?
So Amazon has some basic requirements about a policy. Three main things. First, Amazon must be insured on the policy. They want to make sure that if anything happens to them, they are covered. The insurance has to state it very clearly. There are guidelines to how to do that. Second thing is the amount of coverage. So Amazon requires to have $1 million of coverage, both per case and aggregated. Aggregated mean if there are a lot of smaller claims, they can reach up to the amount of $1 million. And per case, meaning that if there is one case of $1 million, it's still covered. And the third thing is your deductible. It needs to be not more than $10,000. So that's the three requirements. When we at Spott work with carriers to get a policy for you, we make sure that it's compliant with all of Amazon requirements before uploading it. And also, if for some reason Amazon declines it, we help fixing it until it's uploaded. Worst case scenario, Amazon didn't approve it at all, you get your money back. So that's
Makes
what
perfect sense.
Yeah.
Abdallah asks, thank you very much, Stephen. Sometimes I think you look what I exactly need in my business next and make for another great Q&A. You're very welcome, Abdallah. We get that a lot. We try and be topical at all times. And so like we've been focused a lot lately on pay-per-click AMAs. It's probably where I'm going to spend more of my content. And just met the Spott guys, a couple months ago. Really liked what they were doing, and that's why we decided to bring them on. If updating insurance provides after adding products, do I usually need to pay more?
Mm-hmm. I assume the question here is about launching new products and adding them to your policy, right?
I think that's what he's saying, yeah.
Yeah, so in this case, usually you will need to pay more, again, to be covered. For example, if you added something that's higher risk, for example, you want to be covered for that as well. Usually it will mean to pay more. If something changed on the other hand, and you added something that's lower risk, or your revenue decreased, actually, then you can actually, in many cases, pay less. But it depends on the change on your account. Generally speaking, if your exposure is bigger, meaning more units you sell or more dangerous things that you sell, you will want to update your policy, and it will, in most cases, require you to pay more for this policy.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So how much do insurance policies cost exactly? What happens if the insurance policy is expensive, difficult for the seller to pay it all at once?
Yeah. So it depends. Usually, it highly depends if you're a retailer or if you're a private label seller. If you're a retailer, usually the price range is in the low hundreds of dollars, 300 to 500, depends on what you're selling and on the volumes. As a private label, it highly depends on exactly what you're selling, where you're manufacturing, etc. A typical policy will cost somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000, but some of our customers even they sell a very risky item, and they needed to buy a policy for $25,000 to be covered. In their case, by the way, it was a very wise decision for them, because what they're selling is actually dangerous, and they want to make sure that nothing goes wrong for their business. Whether you need to pay it all at once or not, again, we know that sometimes it's a big expense for sellers, especially if they were not preparing for it. All of a sudden, they passed the $10,000, or they learned it for the first time here in this live session. And again, we are very happy to help with that as well. We also have a pay-as-you-go model, meaning that you can pay only when you sell, and that way cover the policy. So you don't need to basically pay for everything in advance.
And you guys don't do just product insurance. Tell me a little bit about some of the other things you guys are up to at Spott.
Yeah, definitely. One more comment about what actually we do around insurance.
Sure.
You started by saying that it's complicated, insurance, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it's a long and very tedious process. And we basically built a technology that helps you do it in as close as possible to one click. Meaning, when you onboard to our system, you give us some very, very basic details. Based on that, we are using technology to tell your story. This is my favorite part, to tell your story to the carrier, and then basically get a policy that's right for you, that covers what you do, and also that doesn't require you to pay even $1 more than you need to pay. So that's what we do. Basically, giving you a one-click experience, frictionless as possible, using a lot of technology to tell your story, and then delivering you with the right policy. Steven, by the way, you did debates, right?
I did. So my claim to fame is I debated for Weber State University, that's out of Ogden, Utah. And my claim to fame is I beat Harvard's B team, so their second best team, in a national debate tournament.
Oh wow!
So yeah, that was fun back in the day. If I had to go back to school, though, I wouldn't try and learn how to debate. I'd probably learn how to persuade.
Okay.
Because a debater, you just say, hey, you're aff, you're neg, go fight, right? I live and dream that stuff, but it's very fun for me. But at the end of the day, if you win the debate, did you actually make a difference? Did you convince them that you're right? Not really. So it's all about persuasion. But go ahead with the debate reference.
So for me, and for us, it's somewhere between debate and storytelling, right? Before Spott, I worked at PayPal, and in PayPal, you learn a lot just by the sheer volume of customers that you have. And for me, one of the most important or interesting things was telling the customer story through their actions, or through what they need, or through what they do. And I think that this is also the story for us in Spott, being able to tell the Amazon seller's story through technology, and convey to the carriers in an interesting way. I'll give an example. One of our customers sells pacifier holders, right? So after you wash the pacifier, you basically put it near the sink and let it dry. But the title for his store, right, is baby equipment. And when carriers look at this type of businesses, it's really, really scary for them, right? It's really risky.
There's more risk. Anytime kids are involved, there's way more risk.
Of course. But if you only sell the pacifier holder, it's a different story, right? And we want to make sure that the carriers get to the full story, that they cover what you need, and you don't need to pay extra just because they classify you as like.
Is this a real example? Did this happen?
Yeah.
That's a really good example. I think you should use that again, because that's like a perfect explanation of if you try to submit product insurance by yourself, come back high. But if you have somebody like that's in your ball court there for you, might get a better deal. So there's a lot of other things besides product insurance you guys carry, though. Like as I understand it, you guys also like do insurance for product suspensions or account suspensions. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Like I said,
how does that work?
We basically know that a lot of things can go wrong, right? So our service actually includes two things. First, we constantly monitor your listing to make sure that you're not in violation, that if Amazon changes anything in the requirements for your policy, whether it's cosmetics or meaning like you can't use.
FDA comes out with another announcement about deer antler velvet not being allowed in product and supplements. Yeah, whatever.
Exactly. And
that actually happened to one of my clients 3 years ago.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
And when Amazon changes the regulation around the pesticides and everything that had the word anti in it, all of a sudden.
Anybody watching this, if you need to pass the pesticides test, I give out the answer key for free. They haven't changed it in the past 2 years. Just Google My Amazon Guy pesticides test, free answer key. And the reason I do that is because 98% of the people that take that test and are forced to take that test by Amazon don't sell pesticides. It's stupid.
Exactly. So we constantly monitor your listings to make sure that nothing goes wrong, that nothing changed, nothing happened, that you're not in violation. If it is, we alert you and help you to fix what's wrong. And in the case that your listing is suspended, we basically take care of it for you with no additional charge, and make sure that it's up and running in no time. So that's the service that we provide.
It's a good service to have. Catalog teams are the most underrated division of an Amazon team, in my opinion, the troubleshooters. All right, Voodoo Tech asks, hi, how can one get an insurance for products which are different than usual standards are? For example, some replacement parts for furniture, which are not like the standard one should be.
So sometimes it requires someone telling your story, right? It can be through technology, it can be through the human interaction, making sure that the carrier exactly knows what you need and what it is. In this case, I would suggest using a broker, a producer that can tell you a story. It can be us, it can be other broker, but make sure that the carrier knows what you do. If you try to go like, if you're selling unstandard things and you try to go like the usual way or the standard way, you sometimes can find it very difficult to find insurance.
So today we are joined by Amit Batzir with he's the co-founder and chief product officer at Spott. It was really great having you on the podcast today. Before we end, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
So first, you can check our website and our services there. It's under spotme.com or spot.co. We're also active on LinkedIn, Facebook. So we'll be more than happy to, if you can follow us there.
Yeah. So I definitely recommend to my own audience. These guys know what they're doing. It's complicated to get product insurance. They're going to get you a better quote. And it's going to be more specific than just clicking the button inside of Seller Central. So I highly recommend it. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast today. Any last words of wisdom? Open-ended question.
For me?
Yeah, you could talk about anything you'd like, book to read, whatever.
Okay. No, so I think that as a seller, make sure that you're covered. Okay, not only for insurance. Sometimes people tend to get into the weeds of the day-to-day hustle. Every once in a while, make sure that you cover what happens if something goes wrong and what happens if something goes right, and be prepared for that as well, right? So being in the high-tech industry for 20 years, it's so important sometimes to take a step back, say, hey, what do I need to make sure that my business is still there a year from now, 2 years from now? How do I make it better? And do it constantly. So
we're going to sneak one more question in here. Can you also make insurance for European sellers who are not an LLC, one-man business?
Yeah. So again, like the question Abdallah asked about Turkey, the same. If you're not in the United States, you need to have a local carrier that covers you. In Europe, it's actually simpler. Again, we'll be more than happy to do that. Carriers do offer liability insurance for European companies. So
perfect. Thanks so much for joining us on the My Amazon Guy podcast. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you, Stephen.
So that is our interview today on product insurance. Let us know in the comments what you learned. If you have additional questions, you're watching this on the replay, come back, add a question. I'm sure they will come back and answer it for you. Every Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time, you can ask me literally any Amazon question. I'll be your walking encyclopedia of all things Amazon as we try and give you everything you need to do to run your business. My name is Stephen Pope, and I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy.